Hi, I'm Larry Snowden. I'm here at the Chicago Comicon. It's about 2:15 in the morning. I finally tracked down Peter David. We got a couple of questions I want to ask you. First of all, standard question we ask everybody is, how did you get started in the comic book business?
Okay, I came through an actually kind of different route, I suppose. I started working for Marvel Comics in what would customarily be called the day job. My day job was assistant direct sales manager to Carol Kalish, who was the head of direct sales. Direct sales is the way that comic books get into your local comic book specialty store. And I would assist Carol in essentially doing just that. After a couple of years while I was there, as a sideline, I decided to, just try and pick up some money on the side by indulging my lifelong enjoyment of writing, and I started submitting stories to Marvel editors. An editor named Jim Owsley liked the Spider-Man stories that I was submitting and printed my first work, and then made me the regular writer on Spectacular Spider-Man. And one thing led to another, and I was starting to get so many offers that I decided, after a couple of years, to essentially quit my day job and become a full-time writer.
Okay, now how long have you been writing since you quit your day job?
Let's see. Do you remember what?
About 8 years.
I've been a full-time writer for about 8 years.
Okay. Now, when you were younger, did you read comic books as a kid?
Oh, sure.
And what did you read? What kind of got you going,
DC's mostly. I mean, I started with Harvey Comics, Casper and Wendy the Good Little, and Casper and Wendy. Never got into Richie Rich.
Okay.
And I never really subscribed to the theory that Casper was actually dead Richie Rich, which some people thought because of the shape of the head and the whole thing.
Right.
And then I started reading DC's. I read Superman. I got into Superman from the TV show. Because if you remember, the TV show always said, Superman is based on the character appearing in Superman magazines.
Right.
And so I felt that it would be interesting to check out Superman magazines, to see what there was and see what Superman was all about in the comics. And through World's Finest, with Superman, I started getting into Batman. That was augmented by the 60s Batman TV show. And as I got older, I also gravitated to Marvels. And so that's, pretty much it. That was a pretty standard progression in those days.
So pretty much you had a mixture of television and comics right there.
Yeah.
To where, okay, well, I don't want to spoil the surprise. We'll get to Space Case a little bit later on. Okay, but I want to ask you that right now, how do you feel that comic books are progressing? Because a lot of people are saying they're too violent. Some people are saying they're not violent enough. What do you think?
I think that there is a variety of comic books out there that once upon a time, comic books are fairly easily divided into two things. Real small kiddie comics, like the Harveys, and straight up superhero comics. And what's happening is that comic books are really spread out now in terms of their audience appeal and in terms of their subject matter. That comic books have developed into a multiplicity of publishing options, just as book publishing. It's like saying, well, do you think that novels are too violent? Well, yeah, the men's action-adventure novels can get to be pretty intense. On the other hand, Bridges of Madison County isn't exactly what you would call, an intensely violent book. At least from what I hear, I haven't read this stupid thing. But in any event, yes, there are some comic books out there that are extremely violent. By the same token, you have comic books that are very, very lighthearted or even cartoony, such as Bone. You have comic books that are very supernatural and psychological, yet with a very mythic bent, such as Sandman. You have dark, grim, and intense detective, such as Frank Miller's Sin City. You really have that incredible variety of comic books out there. And I think that people are just surprised because when they pick up comic books nowadays, they may see stuff in there and say, well, my goodness, that wasn't there when I was a kid. And that's true enough. But things change.
I want to talk about a couple of the recent issues of work that you have done for Marvel on the Hulk. One of the big things that caused a bit of an uproar, from what I understand, was the AIDS issue. Or one
I don't know
of
if
the
it
major-
caused. I don't know if it caused an uproar. I mean, we didn't get we didn't take a bloodbath in terms of a public reaction. Actually, the reaction we got was extremely positive.
But from what I understand, Marvel originally didn't want to print that because they
No.
thought it would be that.
No, not at all.
Oh, really?
No, actually what you're doing is kind of collapsing together a series of events.
Okay, well, if you could explain it.
In that there was a period where Marvel became extremely tentative and hesitant in terms of exploring subject matter. This really came to a head as a result of Alpha Flight 103, I believe it was, in which the character of North Star came out, so to speak, about his homosexuality. This caused a great deal of stir. It caused a good deal of backlash. Believe it or not, there were, for example, toy store chains who said that they were not going to carry mutant books because there was a gay mutant character. I'm sorry. The toy stores are not going to carry the X-Men action figures because a character in Alpha Flight was openly gay. And this made Marvel very gun-shy about doing anything controversial. And as a result, an edict came down from on high that said, don't do anything controversial, play it safe. And the writers at Marvel really didn't have any choice in terms of, this is the corporate edict, this is what we got to do. And time passed, a year or so passed, and the whole business of Alpha Flight died down. And basically On High got bored. And On High said, look, this is ridiculous. Other comic book companies are doing daring and innovative and interesting stuff, and we're pussyfooting around. This is nonsensical. Go tell the writers they can do whatever the hell they want, as long as, within the bounds of good taste. And the word came down to us, and they said, okay, you can do whatever the hell you want. The very first thing I did was have a character in Hulk explicitly state that he was gay. It had been implied. All you had to do was read between the lines, and it was pretty obvious. But you can mark on your calendar the point at which the edict came down, because that was the issue of Hulk, where he said, look, he said to a character, look, I know you hate my guts because I'm gay. And that had a lot of people go, hello. And then several issues later, I did the issue of Alpha Flight. This is what happens when you do interviews at 2 in the morning. Several issues later, I did the issue of Hulk. That was the AIDS issue. But I got nothing but support from everybody from the editor on up. Okay. Never heard a whisper of complaint. And it got very, very positively written up in Entertainment Weekly, as I recall. Got a very nice write-up there. And in gay magazines, which I thought was funny because I was described as Peter David, heterosexual writer. I have been described as Peter David fan favorite writer, Peter David hack writer, and everything in between. This was the first time I was described as Peter David, heterosexual writer.
So how did it make you feel when you saw that?
I read that and immediately kissed my wife. Just because I'm heterosexual. I was pleased by the attention, and like I said, the phrasing struck me as mildly amusing.
Okay. One question that a lot of people keep asking, because I told them that I was going to come in here and talk to you, or at least try to talk to you. They want to know, when is Aquaman going to get his hand back?
No immediate plans. Actually, I think we're going to cut off his other hand and replace it with a hibachi. I thought the best reaction I got to it was a postcard from a guy, and all he said was, why don't you put his eye out too? That'll give you a few more sales. No particular plans, because I did it for a reason, for a number of reasons, some which are already made clear, some which are not yet but will be.
Okay.
I happen to think it gives him a very distinctive look, and if nothing else, it makes him a bit more of a character to reckon with. I mean, in the old days, if you wanted, to show up and duke it out with someone, you'd run into the receptionist, and she'd say, evil person, there's an irritated blonde man out here. No, he doesn't have any weapons. No, he doesn't seem to be able to do anything. he's talking to the goldfish, but tell him to wait a couple of weeks. Yeah, okay. Could you make an appointment to fight my boss? Now it's Mr. Evil Villain. There's a really pissed man with a harpoon on his hand out here, and I think he really wants to talk to you. You better get out here fast.
Okay.
I prefer to deal with the second Aquaman for my purposes.
Okay. The second Aquaman.
The one that in that example.
Okay, thank you. I'm like,
The latter.
Wait. Again, it's 2 o'clock in the morning. I know you're a busy person. I know you're tired. You have a brunch later on today, so I'm going to let you go. But
Okay.
I am going to give you a minute and a half in front of the camera alone. Plug whatever you want, however you want to do it. If you want to
Okay.
tell us about upcoming events in either Hulk or Aquaman or something else, please do. Camera's yours, sir.
The camera's mine. Well, it's very exciting. In Hulk, we're going to be cutting off his right foot and replacing it with a Toro lawnmower. We're getting some product placement in there. Over in Spider-Man 2099, we will be cutting off his head and replacing it with a rubber chicken. I think we just got one hell of an exciting series here. I don't want to go into too much detail with story elements because, number one, I'm not real good at that. I'm very good at writing them, or at least this is what I'm told. But going into detail, well, I'd rather not do. In terms of upcoming projects, I have a Hulk novel that will be coming out in August called What Rough Beast. I have another Star Trek novel called Gamora, which is about Gamora Sulu, Captain Sulu's daughter. That should be coming out in November. I have a pilot in the hopper with Nickelodeon. It's called Space Cases. It's a kids science fiction series. The pilot is presently being considered by Nickelodeon as of this meeting. We don't know definitely if we go to series. If it does go to series, gee, that really sucks. If it does go to series, then it would debut in October. If it doesn't go to series, then you'll never see it.
One quick question. How does it feel to finally win a CBG award?
It feels really nice. I was very pleased. I was very surprised. I just kind of assumed that Neil Gaiman would win. And I really, would like, to thank all the folks who voted for me. Probably some of them voted many, many times. And I hope they don't get caught, because otherwise I'm screwed and we'll have to send the thing back to Neil.
Well, in Chicago, everybody votes, at least the ones that are dead.
There you go.
They vote. Well, Mr. David, I really appreciate your time. I will let you go. Thank you so much.
Thank
This
you.
is Larry Snowden. We'll be back with another interview. Go home.